They found her in the bathtub, eyes open, wrists slit, and a smile carved into her face. The water had long turned cold. But the most chilling part? Her phone was still clutched in her hand with a final unread message from him. "I told you I'd never leave you, baby. Now we're even." Welcome to Through Crime, your portal into the most chilling true crime cases, unsolved mysteries, and the darkest corners of criminal history. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on this video, and if you are new here, do well to hit the subscribe button. We dig deep into the facts, uncover shocking twists, and explore the theories that keep investigators and the world on edge. Stay back and enjoy. Her name was Eleanor Greene, a 57-year-old retired real estate mogul, widow, and a woman who had everything except someone to love her. She lived alone in her penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan in downtown Chicago. Her days were filled with charity events, wine clubs, and silent breakfasts. Nights were lonelier. That changed in October 2023. She met him on a dating app. His name was Drew Carter, 23, tall, with soft brown eyes and a boyish charm. He said he was a fitness coach. She said she was a retired businesswoman. Neither told the whole truth. Their relationship moved fast. Too fast. In just a month, Eleanor went from FaceTiming with Drew to flying him to Chicago. He moved in by Thanksgiving. She told her friends, "He makes me feel alive again." What she didn't tell them. He never let her check her mail, insisted she use cash only, and made her change all her passwords for safety. That was the first red flag. No one noticed. Eleanor had lost her husband 5 years prior to pancreatic cancer. After a decade of caregiving and watching him waste away, Drew felt like a drug. Young, strong, alive. He cooked for her, massaged her feet, called her baby girl, and played Marvin Gaye on vinyl. She fell hard. Within 2 months, Drew had convinced Eleanor to give him access to her bank account to help manage bills. What he didn't say was that he had a long record of manipulating older women for money. Multiple aliases. Multiple restraining orders. All dropped. This time he played the long game. By January 2024, Eleanor's account was nearly drained. Over $3.4 million missing. Gone into shell accounts. Crypto. Offshore wires. And then, she died. January 17, 2024. It was a neighbor who called the police after Eleanor missed their weekly brunch. Officers broke in to find the most horrifying scene of their careers. The tub was filled with dried reddish-brown water. Eleanor's body was cold, stiff. The smile carved into her cheeks stretched grotesquely wide. Her wrists had been slashed horizontally and deeply, too clean, too perfect. On the bathroom mirror, smeared in lipstick, "I finally let go." At first glance it looked like suicide. But something didn't add up. Her debit card had been used hours after the estimated time of death. Security footage from a nearby ATM showed a man in a hoodie. The withdrawal? $500. The police began digging. What they uncovered was a trail of manipulation, theft, and eventually, murder. Drew had vanished. He told Eleanor's friends he was flying to Miami for a fitness retreat. Instead, he was holed up in a rundown motel in Indiana, blowing through her money at clubs, casinos, and escort services. But his arrogance was his downfall. He left a digital trail, hotel bookings, rideshare receipts, surveillance footage, and a chilling audio file left on Eleanor's phone. A voice memo recorded by accident. "She's pathetic. Thinks I love her? I'm gonna drain her dry, then maybe I'll leave a little message to make it look like she offed herself." That was enough. The manhunt began. He was caught 2 weeks later in Las Vegas, partying with a stripper half his age, wearing a $25,000 Rolex he'd bought with Eleanor's money. The trial was open and shut. At first, prosecutors presented the evidence: financial theft, forged suicide note, video proof, and the voice memo. The jury was disgusted. The courtroom gasped when the carved smile photo was shown. But just before sentencing, something came to light. A prison informant came forward. Drew had been bragging in his cell that Eleanor wasn't his first. Turns out, in 2021, a woman in Ohio named Marissa Denton, age 61, died in a similar suicide. Slit wrists, bathtub, smile carved into her cheeks. No one made the connection, until now. The case was reopened. Authorities believe Drew may have had up to 3 similar victims across multiple states, all ruled as suicides. Each woman had one thing in common: a digital footprint linking back to Drew_Fit on dating apps. Drew wasn't even his real name. His birth name was Jonathan Crane, born in Michigan, raised in foster homes in and out of juvie. Abused, abandoned, neglected. He reinvented himself as Drew Carter at age 18 and started grooming older women online, targeting widows and divorcees. He used love as a weapon, empathy as a tool, and death as his escape plan. But with Eleanor, something changed. Investigators found a chilling letter under Eleanor's mattress, never mailed. Handwritten. "Drew, I know what you've done. I loved you anyway. But I can't pretend anymore. I see through you. If I disappear, it wasn't by my choice. It was you. You took everything." It was dated 2 days before her death. That letter sealed his fate. At sentencing, Eleanor's only daughter, Grace Greene, now in her early 30s, took the stand. She hadn't spoken to her mother in over a year due to Eleanor's obsession with Drew. But when she heard what happened, she flew back to Chicago, devastated and shaken. Her voice cracked as she looked Drew in the eye. "You thought you took everything. But what you really did was wake a sleeping storm. You didn't kill my mother. You liberated her. And now, every woman you ever hurt will haunt you in that cell." The courtroom was silent. Drew smirked. But the judge didn't. Life without parole. No plea deal. No mercy. Justice was served, or so it seemed. 3 months later, Grace started receiving anonymous letters. No return address. Inside the first envelope? A Polaroid photo of her mother, still alive, or so it appeared. Sitting on a bed. Eyes open. Smiling. But here's the catch. The photo was dated February 2024, a month after Eleanor's death. The authorities dismissed it as fake. Grace didn't. Then came the second letter. One sentence: "She never died. You just buried the wrong body." 3 months had passed since Drew Carter, aka Jonathan Crane, was sentenced to life without parole. The world had moved on. Grace Greene hadn't. She couldn't shake the letters. Couldn't ignore the gut feeling. The photo. The handwriting. The second envelope that read, "You buried a stranger." Grace had always thought grief came in waves. But this was like drowning without ever touching water. She requested a second autopsy. The authorities pushed back, called it delusional, but she persisted. Finally, the body was exhumed. And that's when it happened. The autopsy report came back with 2 discrepancies. The victim had a healed fracture on her right wrist. Her appendix had been removed. But Eleanor had never broken a bone in her life. And she still had her appendix. This body, this woman, was not Eleanor Greene. The medical examiner confirmed the DNA mismatch a week later. So who was the woman in the tub? Her name was Trina Wallace, 49, homeless, last seen in a Southside shelter 3 weeks before Eleanor's supposed death. She had no family, no record of missing person status. The police scrambled to contain the media leak, but word got out. The story was back in the headlines. Chicago socialite's death faked? Victim identified as missing woman. The question on everyone's mind. Where the hell was Eleanor? And more terrifying, did Drew know? Grace was granted a prison visit. She wanted answers. Closure. Justice. Drew looked thinner. Paler. But his arrogance? Still intact. Grace placed the photo of the newly identified Trina on the table. Grace, this isn't my mother. And you knew it. Drew, smiling, took you long enough. She always said you were stubborn, not smart. She lunged. Guards pulled her back. He leaned in, calm as ever. She didn't die, Grace. She escaped. And maybe, just maybe, I helped her. 2 days later, Grace received an encrypted email from an anonymous sender. Attached, a video file. She clicked. It was security footage from Eleanor's penthouse lobby. Dated January 16, 2024, the night before the staged suicide. There she was, Eleanor Greene, walking out at 3:04 a.m. with a suitcase, sunglasses, and a black hoodie. Alone. She looked calm, focused, determined. Behind her? No Drew. Grace zoomed in on her face. No fear. No hesitation. Her mother hadn't been murdered. She had vanished, on purpose. Investigators began to re-examine everything. New theory, Drew and Eleanor had planned a financial escape. Fake her death. Drain the accounts. Disappear. But something went wrong. Or, maybe it went exactly right. Had Eleanor used Drew just as much as he used her? Grace found an old hidden safe in Eleanor's penthouse. Inside, passports. Foreign currency. Photos of a beach house in Belize. Documents in Spanish. And a burner phone. One text stood out. Wait until they find the wrong body. By then I'll be gone. Don't follow me. The date? January 12th. 4 days before her suicide. The FBI stepped in. The money trail led them to Panama. Then Ecuador. And finally, Belize. A beach villa purchased in cash under a fake identity, Catherine Blake. They raided it. No one inside. But the neighbors confirmed. A blonde woman had been living there. Quiet. Polite. Said she was recovering from a breakdown. She vanished 2 days before the FBI arrived. All signs pointed to Eleanor Greene, alive and on the run. The question now wasn't, who killed Eleanor? Did Eleanor kill Trina Wallace? Authorities theorize Eleanor lured Trina in under the guise of offering shelter. Drugged her. Dressed her in Eleanor's clothes. Slit her wrists to mimic suicide. Carved the smile post-mortem. And fled. A perfect switch. She let Drew take the fall. Maybe he deserved it. But in the end she outplayed him too. Grace returned to the penthouse one last time. A letter was taped to the underside of her mother's antique piano. It simply read, Asterisk, you thought you were smarter than me, Drew? But you were just the first domino. You hurt me, used me, broke me, and I let you believe you won. Now you'll rot in a cell for a murder I committed. I never stopped loving you. But I'll never stop running either. Asterisk. It was June 2024. The FBI had quietly closed the Eleanor Greene case. With no confirmed sightings in months and a trail gone cold in Central America, they reclassified it as a long-term fugitive case. Grace Greene didn't accept that. One late night, she visited the Chicago police evidence locker, accompanied by a sympathetic detective who'd worked Eleanor's case from the start. Detective Marquez. They reviewed items logged from Eleanor's penthouse. That's when Grace spotted something odd. A small silver flash drive, unmarked, tucked into a side pocket of Eleanor's designer bag. Overlooked. Forgotten. They plugged it in. It contained 3 files. Each video labeled by date. The first, January 12, 24. The second, January 14, 24. The last, January 15, 24. 3 days before her staged death. The screen flickered on. Eleanor sat in her robe, makeup removed, raw, real, and shaking. Behind her, the Chicago skyline. She spoke directly to the camera. If you're watching this, I'm probably gone. Or on the run. This is my confession. I fell in love with a boy young enough to be my grandson. I knew it was stupid. I knew he was dangerous. But I was lonely, so lonely. At first it was real. Then it wasn't. I caught him stealing, lying, plotting. I confronted him. And he laughed in my face. She wipes a tear. So I started plotting too. Cut to black. Eleanor now wore gloves. She looked calmer, colder. Here's how it'll go down. I found a woman named Trina. I offered her shelter. She reminds me of me, if I had nothing. Tomorrow I'll switch places with her. She won't feel a thing. She won't even know what happened. I'll drug her tea. I'll wait. I'll clean her up. I'll make her me. She looks dead into the camera. Drew thinks I'm his fool. But I'm his mirror. He taught me how to lie, how to steal, how to kill. Now I'm better at it than he ever was. This time Eleanor is in a hoodie. No makeup. Suitcase beside her. Grace, if you ever see this, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to ask for help. You were always stronger than me. But I need to disappear. Drew deserves to pay and I'll make sure he does. But I can't stay. I can't face prison or the shame. I'm leaving tonight. Don't come looking for me. If I ever come back, it will be for you. She pauses. Then with a haunted smile. Goodbye, baby girl. Detective Marquez sat frozen. They had what they needed. Proof of premeditated murder. Proof of fraud. And the biggest twist of all, that Drew Carter, while a thief and manipulator, didn't kill anyone. The DA moved quickly. Drew was exonerated for murder, but remained in prison for fraud, identity theft, and financial abuse. His life sentence was commuted to 25 years without parole. The media swarmed. Eleanor became a ghost story. The granny gone rogue. The widow who vanished. Grace didn't know how to feel. Justice had turned inside out. September 2024. Grace returned home from work to find a small package on her doorstep. No return address. Handwritten note inside. For Grace, I'm tired of running. Inside, a USB drive and a passport. The passport belonged to Catherine Blake with Eleanor's face, hair now gray, eyes tired. She had crossed into Canada 6 weeks prior. No record since. The USB drive? A recording. Just a voice. I'm not asking for forgiveness. But I want you to know. I'm done hiding. I left a key for you. Unit 5B. Paris. Rue de Charonne. Inside is everything. Grace booked a flight. She arrived in Paris 2 days later. Unit 5B was a studio flat. Minimal, quiet, with a single painting of a lake. Her mother's favorite place. Inside the drawer? Stacks of cash. A burner phone. And a note. This is the last thing I'll ever ask. Don't follow me anymore. But if you do, start in Istanbul. And don't trust the man who knocks twice. She turned around at the sound of the door handle twisting. One soft knock. Pause. Then 2 more. The door opened. A tall, lean man in his early 40s stood in the threshold. Slick back hair, European cut suit, and cold green eyes. Grace Greene? He asked in an accent she couldn't place. She didn't answer. Her hand was behind her back, gripping the burner phone like a weapon. I'm here about Eleanor, he said. Grace's silence spoke for her. He stepped inside uninvited. Istanbul was a mistake, he muttered, eyes scanning the flat. She never made it there. Grace snapped. Who the hell are you? He looked at her like it was a joke. I'm the man your mother didn't want you to meet. He introduced himself only as Victor. Claimed he had known Eleanor for years, before Drew. Before Chicago. Back when Eleanor traveled abroad after Grace's father died. Back when Eleanor was desperate, grieving, and naive. She was working with me in Monaco, Victor said. Asset smuggling. Crypto laundering. She was brilliant. Until she went soft. Soft. She fell in love with a boy online. Drew. That's when Eleanor ghosted him and disappeared to America. Started her new life. Tried to go legit. Until everything fell apart. She owed people, Victor said. A lot. And not just money. Favors. Secrets. Then he added. She faked her death to run from Drew. But she's been running from me a lot longer. Grace didn't believe him, until he showed her a photograph. Eleanor. Gray hair tied back. A shawl. Standing in a marketplace in Karakoy, Istanbul. The photo was timestamped 2 weeks ago. Grace's head spun. She was here. Then where did she go? Victor paused. She's gone underground. But someone else has her. And if we don't find her soon, she won't be alive much longer. He claimed a rival group had found Eleanor. People Eleanor betrayed years ago during her Monaco days. They wanted revenge and they didn't care who got in the way. They've already killed 2 of my men, Victor said. You're next, Grace. Back at the flat, Grace plugged in the USB Eleanor had left. Inside was a single file, final_insurance.mov. It was grainy footage. Shot on a hidden camera. A younger Eleanor sat across from a man with a dragon tattoo on his neck. He was speaking in Turkish, but subtitles had been added. Man, one more mistake and we take the girl. Eleanor, Grace doesn't know anything. Leave her out of this. Man, you made a deal. You stole from us. You vanish, fine. But your daughter will pay the debt if you don't. The screen cut to black. And then Eleanor's voice. If you found this, it means I've failed. Victor will try to help you, but trust no one. Not even him. If you want the truth, go to the one person who hates me most. He's in prison. And his name is Drew Carter. Grace flew back to the U.S. immediately. Drew was rotting in a federal prison in Kansas. He looked older now, beard thinner but still sharp. Grace slid the flash drive across the table. He watched in silence. When the screen went black, he chuckled. I knew she had skeletons. But damn. She was worse than me. She slammed her fist down. Where is she, Drew? He leaned in. Eleanor didn't vanish because of me. She vanished because she wanted to erase her past. And trust me, that past wants her dead. Then he said something that chilled Grace. You think she's the victim in this story? You really don't know your mother at all. Drew revealed it all. Eleanor had been running scams with Victor for years. Offshore accounts. Stolen identities. Tax evasion. But the worst? She betrayed a mafia syndicate, laundering money and then disappearing with it. Roughly $18 million. That dragon-tattooed man in the video? Serkan Özdemir, Turkish underworld fixer. Brutal. Unforgiving. Eleanor had framed him for a money-laundering ring in Monaco. Now he was out. And he wanted Eleanor's blood. Drew ended with a whisper. If she's alive, she'll surface once. To end it herself. And when she does, she won't be running anymore. She'll be ready to die. 10 days later. Grace sat in a cafe in Lisbon. Burnout. Lost. Then she saw her. Across the street. Gray hair under a scarf. Dark glasses. Eleanor Greene. Grace leapt up, ran outside, across the street. Gone. Only a napkin left behind on the cafe table, folded neatly. She opened it. Written in red ink. Asterisk, let them believe I'm dead again. For your safety. For mine. Don't follow me. But if you must, meet me in Marrakesh. One night only. Come alone. Asterisk. Grace looked around. No one followed her. But then, a phone in her pocket buzzed. The burner phone. Unknown number. One message. You shouldn't have gone to Drew. Grace didn't go back to her hotel. She went straight to a crowded tram, rode 3 stops past her destination, then ducked into an alley near the Tagus River. She'd seen the man 3 times now, a tall figure in a leather jacket, dark shades, always a step behind. She pulled the burner phone from her coat and dialed Victor. No answer. Then a message pinged. Unknown. If you want to stay alive, don't go to Marrakesh. She stared at the text. Her chest tightened. Was it a trap? Or was Marrakesh the one place where the truth waited? Grace didn't care anymore. The only thing worse than finding Eleanor dead was never knowing what really happened. She booked a one-way flight to Marrakesh. Arrived at 11:38 p.m. Took a taxi to the coordinates Eleanor had left on a second napkin tucked inside the burner phone's battery case. Rue Bab Dukala, 37. It was a small riad with thick wooden doors. Quiet. She knocked. Once. Twice. The door opened slowly. And there she was. Eleanor Greene. Alive. Standing in candlelight. Her face hollow. Her hands trembling. Grace, you shouldn't have come. Grace stepped inside. You owe me answers, she said. Eleanor didn't argue. She motioned for her to sit. A teapot steamed between them. Moroccan mint. You remember when your father died? Eleanor asked quietly. Grace nodded. I wasn't just grieving. I was in trouble. He wasn't the man you thought. He was a mule, moving money and documents for people he never met. When he died, his debts became mine. Eleanor poured tea. Her hands shook. I went to Victor. He promised protection. I gave him secrets in return. IDs. Offshore routes. I became useful. Then she whispered. I didn't fall in love with Drew. I recruited him. Grace blinked. What? Eleanor looked ashamed. He wasn't innocent, Grace. He was a petty scammer. Easy to mold. I turned him into what I needed, a distraction. I taught him how to access the accounts, how to manipulate me. And when it was time, I let him steal from me. Grace felt her stomach twist. You framed him. No, Eleanor said, voice cracking. He really did betray me. But I built the trap around him first. Tears welled up in Eleanor's eyes. I was trying to retire. Disappear. But then Sirkin resurfaced. And you were the only thing I couldn't erase. The front gate slammed open. Boots pounded the tiled hallway. Eleanor's face drained of color. It's too late. She shoved Grace toward the back entrance. There's a tunnel, old escape route. Go now. Grace hesitated. Go, damn it. She ran, through a narrow corridor, down stone steps into an old passage under the riad. Echoes of shouting and gunfire above. Then silence. Then, a single gunshot. Grace froze. Then ran. Grace surfaced 3 blocks away, near the market square. Sirens wailed in the distance. She hailed a motorcycle cab, barely able to breathe. She didn't sleep that night. Checked the news all morning. No mention of a raid. No body found. No arrest. She reached out to Victor again. This time he answered. You went to Marrakesh, didn't you? Where is she? Pause. Then. Eleanor Greene no longer exists. He hung up. 3 weeks later, Grace returned to Chicago. A manila envelope awaited her at her apartment door. No name. Inside. A passport in Grace's name. A one-way ticket to the Cayman Islands. A letter in Eleanor's handwriting. My darling girl, you followed me too far. I couldn't stop you. And I couldn't save you either. But maybe now, you can save yourself. Asterisk there is $6.4 million left in an offshore account, under your name. Password, Gracelessbird84. Asterisk take it. Use it. Build something beautiful. But know this, asterisk. Sirkin lives, you're never safe. I bought you time. Not peace. If you ever see a red feather, run. With all the love I never knew how to give. Mom. The next morning, Grace stopped by her favorite cafe near Lakeview. As she sipped her coffee and stared out the window, a man walked by wearing a black leather jacket and dropped something near her table. Grace reached down slowly. It was a single red feather. Pinned beneath it, a note. Round 2 starts now. Grace didn't go home. She went underground. With help from one of Eleanor's old contacts in New York, an ex-CIA analyst named Marla, she found refuge in a bunker-style safe house beneath a laundromat in Brooklyn. No Wi-Fi. No cameras. No trails. Sirkin doesn't make idle threats, Marla said. If he's dropped the feather, it means he wants to see your fear. Grace wasn't afraid anymore. She was angry. He wanted a game? Then let's play. Grace did something bold. She transferred $6 million from the offshore account into 3 new shells, each flagged with metadata Eleanor once used to bait Sirkin in the past. Then she posted the account details on a dark web forum Sirkin was known to monitor, along with one sentence. She's alive. And she's watching. Within hours her trap was set. A burner phone rang. Male voice. Come. Turkish accent. Little bird, your mother taught you well. Come alone. Grand Central Station. Tomorrow. Track 16. Or we start pulling your feathers out one by one. Grace arrived early. No backup. Just a wired mic Marla planted on her collar and a hidden blade tucked into her boot. Track 16 was nearly empty. Then he emerged. Sirkin Özdemir. Tall, snake-like, a scar slicing across his left eye. He smiled like a man who'd already won. You look like her, he said. But smarter. I'm not here to run, Grace replied. You're not here to live either. Sirkin raised a silenced pistol. But Grace was faster. She kicked the duffel bag at his feet. Boom. Flashbang. Chaos. Screams. Marla's voice crackled in her ear. Move. When Grace emerged from the smoke, Sirkin was gone. But so was his phone. Grace traced the burner to a warehouse in Newark. She went alone again against Marla's warnings. Inside she found something unexpected. Not Sirkin. Eleanor. Alive. Weak. Chained to a chair. Bruised but breathing. Grace ran to her. Mom. But Eleanor whispered, It's not over. He's still here. Too late. The door slammed shut. Sirkin appeared from the shadows. Gun in hand. 2 birds, he sneered. 1 bullet. Then, a second voice behind him. Make that 3. Victor. With a gun aimed at Sirkin's back. It all happened fast. Sirkin turned. Victor fired. 1 shot. Right between the eyes. Sirkin collapsed in a heap. Dead. Grace gasped. Eleanor sobbed. Victor holstered his weapon. Been hunting him for years. Grace looked at him, stunned. Why help us? Victor turned to leave. Because she betrayed me too. But she's the only person I ever cared enough to forgive. Eleanor was taken into protective custody. Grace never saw her again. The FBI sealed the case. Grace testified, but most details were redacted for national security. She declined the money. Donated every last cent of the offshore funds to a victims' rights organization in Eleanor's name. She moved to Oregon. Started teaching art therapy. Quiet life. Until one day, she received a postcard. A single red feather taped to it. This time it's just a hello, Mom. The truth? Eleanor wasn't a saint. Drew wasn't a villain. And Sirkin wasn't the only monster in the shadows. Everyone wore masks. Everyone told lies to survive. But Grace learned one thing through it all. Sometimes justice doesn't look like a gavel or a jail cell. Sometimes it looks like survival. And sometimes it looks like walking away. Grace lit the postcard on fire, watched the red feather burn in her palm, smiled, and whispered, "Goodbye, Mom."